Hey everyone, Carolina Venom here. Today I want to do a comparison between the Kyocera Hydro Icon and the LG Volt on Boost Mobile. Been wanting to do this comparison here for a little while, and I finally got around to getting it done. And I'm just going to mainly give you the specs of both phones, what I think of both of them, give some rundown of it, run some tests, give you the specs, and all that good stuff. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start first with the Hydro Icon right here. This phone runs Android 4.3. It is IP57 certified for water and shock resistance. It is also mil-spec 810. It's got a 4.5 inch display at 540 by 960 resolution at 245 ppi. It does have scratch resistant glass. It has an 8 megapixel camera with an LED flash, and it can record up to full 1080 at 30 frames per second, and it does have a 2 megapixel front facing camera. It's running a 1.2 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 400 processor with 1.5 gigabytes of RAM with 8 gigs of built-in storage, and it will support up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. It's got a 2000 milliamp hour battery with around 14 hours of talk time and estimated 8 days of standby time. This phone is LTE. It has NFC, Bluetooth 4.0, and a bunch of other goodies. So now we will move over to the Volt, which is sort of similar specs, just a little bit different. This phone is running Android 4.4.2 KitKat. It's got a 4.7 inch display with 540 by 960 resolution at 234 ppi. It also has scratch resistant glass, and it's got a 8 megapixel camera on the rear with LED flash. It records full 1080 30 frames per second and has a 1.3 megapixel front facing camera. It's got a 1.2 gigahertz quad core Snapdragon 400 processor with 1 gigabyte of RAM with 8 gigs of built-in storage, and it will support up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. It's got a 3000 milliamp hour battery with an estimated 24 hours of talk time. It's also NFC, LTE, and a bunch of other cool features. So both of these phones here are really nice, and they're similar spec as far as processors go. Screens are not much different, going from 4.5 to 4.7. But to me, the Kyocera has a sharper, brighter screen, and it's more clear than the LG. Not by much, but the whites are whiter and the darks are darker, and it's just a good looking phone in general. I love the way this phone is made. It feels very sturdy, and it just feels really good in the hand. We'll go ahead and power both of these phones up, which they're already on. Only issue that I really have with the Kyocera is sometimes the unlock button is a little glitchy, but it's not always. But there's times it does not want to react right. Like I say, screen quality, the Volt does look pretty good, but to me, the Icon is just clear and more crisp, and it just looks a lot better. While I'm sitting here talking about these phones, I'll go ahead and run a benchmark test on these two phones here, and we will see the speeds, and we'll see what both of them get. This is the newest version of Antutu, so we'll try to push them at the same time. And while we are waiting on this, I will go ahead and comment on call quality. As you know, the Kyocera has the smart sonic receiver, while the LG has just a standard speaker for your earpiece. And the LG does have really good call quality, but so does the Icon. Now, when I had the Vibe on Virgin Mobile, it had terrible call quality. So I'm not sure what they've done different on the Kyocera Icon, but it's better, clearer. So as far as call quality goes, I don't think that the earpiece is as loud on the Kyocera, but you know, it is pretty loud on the LG. Now, I know a lot of people want to know about ringtones and how loud music is. Well, I'm not going to play any ringtones or play any music right now, but the one big advantage over the sound quality out the speakers of this phone is the fact that the LG speaker is on the bottom of the phone right here. So when you get the phone laying flat down like this right here, the sound comes straight out and you get a whole lot louder experience. While the Kyocera speaker is on the rear, when it's against the bed, something like that, it does muffle the sound quite a bit. So that's one of the major pluses of the LG, and the LG is considerably louder as far as playing music, your ringtones. The Kyocera does outdo, the LG does outdo the Kyocera as far as ringtones and music playback, and as well as video playback. So the bottom speaker really does help out a whole lot. I figured that the Kyocera would be louder, but whenever I'm playing a song, the LG just really drowns out the Kyocera. Reception, both of them are on par. I can get between 0 to 2 bars of service here at my house. I do seem to connect better with the Kyocera, which is shocking since when I had the Vibe on Virgin Mobile, I hardly ever had any reception, but I seem to have good reception with the Icon on Boost. So you know, it's kind of funny how both carriers, Virgin Mobile, Boost Mobile, are off of Sprint, but Boost Mobile does seem to be better than Virgin Mobile, in my opinion. You know, but I do know that I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, camera. I will probably do a camera comparison before too awful long on both of these phones here, taking some pictures. Both of them are 8 megapixel, and both of them do record in full 1080. And I will try to get them together and show you the quality of both the Kyocera and the LG. But I have had some issues with the Kyocera on the 1080 and 720 on the rear facing camera. I have had some issues with it not wanting to be in sync with your voice. So maybe that I can get that issue worked out. I don't know. But you know, both of these phones here are a really good price. You can get them for around $100 or less, if you can find them on sale and everything. Oh yeah, camera quality. Like I was saying, with camera quality, I will be recording 720 and full 1080, and both of them are 8 megapixels. So I will be taking pictures in 6 megapixel widescreen. So we will go ahead here and see the scores. And as you see, they're very close. 18,082 on the Kyocera and 17,922 on the LG. And going into the details here, you see here that the CPU is good. Everything is good. The RAM is good. 2D, 3D graphics are good. As well over here, everything got good as well. And the numbers are pretty close together. What I'll do is I'll run one more test on the other benchmark here, this special edition type benchmark, and we'll try to push it at the same time. And this will give you more of roundabout numbers when this test here gets finished. This is a slow test, and I apologize, but I want to get these tests out just to show you the difference. That there's really not that much difference. It's pretty much what your preference is in a phone. If you work outside in construction or something like that, where you're either prone to drop your phone, or if you work outside construction or whatever you do, and you want a phone that's military spec, that's water, dust, shock, drop proof, and all, or drop resistant and everything, the Kyocera is really probably definitely for you. The LG is not made quite as good, of course, because it does not have the mil spec and the IP certification on it. And I also have noticed that the Kyocera is a smoother phone. And I really believe that is due to the extra 500 megabytes of RAM being 1.5 gigs compared to 1 gig. To me, 1 gigabyte of RAM is getting pretty outdated, and it does not take a whole lot to almost fill up 1 gigabyte of RAM. So I believe that 1.5 and above is what they should all be. But like I said, you can get both of these phones here. This phone here was on sale for $79.99 and for the LG Volt, and that is a deal and a half. The Icon, it ranges from $79 to $99 to $149. So it just pretty much varies in price. Battery life. I'll go ahead and get into battery life right fast. Like, I have noticed that the LG Volt on Boost Mobile is not getting as good a battery life as the one on Virgin Mobile. I think it's just a battery thing. Luckily I got two. So, I got a spare battery for the LG. But it does go through, you can get through a whole day of moderate usage. The Kyocera is the same way. It does seem to want to drop fast at the beginning, but it does seem to, moderate as it gets further down. And I can get about a full day of moderate use too on the Kyocera. Both of them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Phone calls, text messages, and the Kyocera seems to be lagging behind a little bit on this test. It's basically the same test almost. It's just it makes it a little bit easier to look at the different numbers up close to see the difference here. Instead of reading them out, I'll just put it up to the screen and y'all can see it and everything. But I'm gonna pull them apart a little bit. The front-facing cameras, to me, the LG does have a little bit better front-facing camera. The Kyocera, you do have to have more light to be able to see it a whole lot better, but still, they're still not bad. Both of them are pretty good. I'll give you what I think is a better phone and which one I like to use here at the end of this comparison. But like I say, both of these phones are really nice for the price, and you really can't go wrong with either one of these phones. So it came in a little bit higher this time at 18,158. And the Kyocera came in at lower at 17,779. So you can kind of look here at some of the speeds, at how close they are together. And there's really not a whole lot of difference when it comes to the numbers. Of course, the RAM speed for some reason on the Kyocera seemed to be a lot slower this time than it normally has been. So I'm not sure why that is, but a lot of the numbers are pretty close together, with the Volt on the right here and the Icon being over here. And as you look at the numbers, they're pretty close. The numbers that are the furthest apart is the RAM speed, but the rest of them are pretty close. So we'll run one more test on the quadrant here. I started the LG first, but it's okay. I'm sorry this video is so long. I'm just wanting to get all these tests ran and everything. You know, even with the extra 500 megabytes of RAM, the LG still holds its own pretty well. Whenever they're loaded down with apps, I can tell that the LG does have the slightest bit of lag here and there, especially when you're going from a big game and you push home. A lot of times the screen will be blank. It takes a few minutes or takes a few seconds for it all to come back up on the screen and everything. But it's really not no big deal. Okay, so now we're done. And the Kyocera came in at 8,332 and 8,168. So the Kyocera did a bit better. Now the last test that I ran on the LG was right at 9,000. So it did drop off some. So of course tests do fluctuate. And you know, you cannot always go by one single test, because I can test them again right now and the numbers would be different. So the Kyocera might outdo the LG might outdo the Kyocera. So you know both of them are, you know, pretty much really smooth devices without really much any problem with lag. You know, and when you get a phone for around $100, you know, off contract with Boost Mobile, Virgin Mobile, whatever, you know, you can't expect to have a perfectly smooth phone. And it's, you know, I mean, you're gonna have some, of course, a little bit of lag here and there with different phones for this price range, but both of them are really nice. And if I had to choose my favorite out of these two phones, it's so close. It's just so very close. But to me, I like the Kyocera Hydro Icon a little bit better, mainly because of the sharper screen, and being able to be an IP certified and mil-spec certified. But other than that, there's really not that much difference, and I also like the extra RAM. But other than that, I mean, it's very close. Both cameras are good. Call quality is good on both phones. The Kyocera does seem to have a little bit better reception in my area, even though I'm outside the coverage area. Supposedly, I can get a phone. I can make a phone call and keep it a lot better, and a lot better than the LG. But it's very close. So, but my choice would barely be the Kyocera over the LG. But anyway, I hope this little comparison helps a little bit with Boost Mobile and a couple of their phones. Be sure to hit that like button, and also if you got any questions or comments, please feel free to ask me, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. And subscribe to my channel. I sure would appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, and talk to y'all later.